Hi, so this is the SBom Joycard controller for the Sega Saturn, made by Hudson. You can get these fairly priced actually, and they're one of the only Saturn joypads that have full auto fire on all the buttons, which is what attracted me to getting one. And also, if you like Bomberman, I suppose the Bomberman styling will appeal to you as well. So this arrived recently, and it's actually in very good condition. The plastic is barely yellowed, there's no cracks, buttons are all nice condition. I've already cleaned the membranes underneath and everything, but they didn't really need it. They were all in tip-top condition anyway. The only problem I had with this was the L and R buttons were temperamental during gameplay, which is no good in games where you need them to be working first time you press them, obviously. So I took it apart again, and I realised that in this particular model of controller, the way the button moves down, hopefully you can see that, it's not pushing down the rubber grommet thing squarely. And it's just a design factor of these controllers. Of course, the real Saturn controller has micro switches on the L and R buttons. So this is probably the only slightly inferior part of the design of this controller compared to an official Saturn controller, is that it uses these rubber grommets for the L and R buttons. But when you press it down, I don't know if you can see that very clearly there, but it doesn't push the rubber part down squarely to push the carbon contact down to the contact points. So it's not a fantastic design. I mean, it does work, but another problem that I discovered on taking it apart, this piece of circuit board here, see the green topped piece of circuit board there, which is at right angles to the main circuit board, pushed down in this direction. Now there was a fair amount of play behind that, which I've now fixed. But if I was to wobble this circuit board backwards and forwards like I'm doing with my finger now, previously there was a certain amount of play, so it wasn't exactly tight up against the rubber. And combine that with the fact that the button doesn't really push the rubber down squarely either, I kind of figured that was, this is partly why my L&R buttons weren't working very well. So my cowboy repair job, which has so far worked perfectly, was just to wedge a piece of cardboard behind each one of the circuit boards. As you can see, all I did was cut out a tiny piece of cardboard, about that size that you can see there. I worked out roughly what thickness was required, and I just cut out some cardboard from a cereal box, and I wedged it behind just by pushing it down into the gap behind these little boards here, and that has been enough to make the buttons work fine every time I press them. So yeah, that's it's about as technical as I get with repairing hardware. No soldering required, cardboard, duct tape, that kind of thing. If I can fix something that way, I'm perfectly happy with it. And yeah, just thought this might be a useful little tip for someone who's having similar problems with the Hudson SBom Joycard controller for Saturn. And just a little addendum to my previous portion of video, just my opinions on the controller itself. It's really good. As I mentioned earlier, I've been looking specifically for a Saturn controller that has independent auto fire on every single button. So this has two stages of auto fire for all 8 joypad buttons. You've got 2 positions. So it's auto fire. First position is off. Second position is auto fire when you're pressing the button down. Third position is constant auto fire, so you don't have to press the button down at all. So these 3 here are obviously A, B and C there, and these 3 grey ones here are obviously X, Y and Z there. And in case you're wondering, the red one in the middle is a slow motion So there's 2 speeds of slow motion, and it's one of those old school slow motions that just continuously presses pause on and off all the time, like the really old controllers used to on the old Mega Drive and what have you. And these 2 here are also auto fire. Bomberman's eyes, they are the auto fire with 3 positions for the L and R buttons. So the buttons are absolutely fine, just right up to the quality of an official Sega controller. And the D-pad, which is one of the main things about controllers, isn't it? The D-pad is also very good. Now, I'm not going to be brazen enough to say it's better than the Saturn D-pad, but it is constructed in a very similar way, in that it's got a stalk in the middle going down to a secondary disc, which is actually inside the controller, which is the same way as the Saturn D-pad works, and also newer consoles like the Xbox 360 and what have you. And so it's raised up, and it's one solid disc, and the whole thing rocks on a central pivot, just like the Saturn D-pad. And it's a great D-pad. To be honest, it doesn't. Maybe it's a little bit more angular on the corners here. So the one thing I like about the Saturn controller is how nice and rounded it is everywhere. It's very comfortable. This is possibly not quite up to the same comfort level as a Saturn D-pad, but functionally speaking, it's identical. So this, I heartily recommend this as a very good value. Even now, and considering how much hardware is getting expensive these days, this is a very good Saturn controller, very affordable. If you're looking for one which is up to the quality of a genuine Saturn, official Saturn controller, I should say. I mean, this is made by Hudson themselves, so they're a quality company and always made quality hardware. So it's not like this is a knockoff or anything. And I do believe these were brought out to as a bundle with various Saturn Bomberman games. Not that I have any of those myself. And they also brought out a Bomberman branded multi-tap for the Saturn as well. So yeah, so it's a nice little collectible fun item to have, but it also, best thing about it is it's just a good quality D-pad and controller for the Saturn as well. So, thank you for watching.